when you play against a team the caliber of Memphis, a couple things you have to do because they're very dynamic on offense. Obviously, starting with Davis and Williams, two fifth-year guys that have been through it and know exactly what to get done. But when you add McCaden, who I love as a player, Keontae Kennedy, I think that's his 6th straight game in double figures, so he's starting to rev it up a little bit as well. They just become so much more difficult to defend. At the same time, our biggest issue tonight, even though I didn't think defensively we were maybe as good as we needed to be, it's hard to defend 30 points off of turnovers. You know what I mean? Where when we execute on offense and move and share the ball and take care of the ball, I mean, our numbers are, very, very good. Second half in particular, we shoot 62%, 36 from the three. Only 5 turnovers in the second half, but we just didn't get a stop or a rebound when we cut it to 8. Get a great stop, and we don't rebound the ball. And they're good enough and veteran enough. Again, you look at it, it's the most experienced team Coach Hardaway's ever had. I think they're 9th in the country in experience. And so every mistake you make at that point it's a 3-possession game, they take advantage of it, and they did. They go 21 of 24 from the free throw line. I thought Russ played very well for us. You're not going to get a lot of shots in the post against him because they're going to post trap. He showed really good maturity in taking it when he could get it, and getting fouled and getting to the free throw line. But the turnovers, roughly 1/3 of their points off of our turnovers. It's just tough to compensate for that. So, you got to give them credit because they still have to take advantage of it, and they're good enough to do it.
I asked the players this question. I want to get your take. The turnovers, particularly early, did that get your team out of rhythm defensively?
A little bit, because what it does it just puts so much pressure then on your traditional half court when you're in a half court. The only area I thought that we didn't do as well as we needed to, we did a good job of bottling up Davis on his drives. He only shoots 2 free throws. That's got to be the least amount of free throws that he shot in all season. You know what I mean? So he did a good job. But we gave up too many cuts off the ball. And it's just losing a little bit of focus off the ball watching instead of seeing your man and the ball. And that leads to some offensive rebounds, too, from the weak side. And it's just that there's got to be a little greater focus on the defensive end, especially when you're off the ball. Now, that's a challenge with any defense because the further you are away from the ball, human nature says you get to relax. Well, the further you are away from the ball, the more stuff you have to do defensively. You got more jobs to do. You got to see the ball. You got to see your man. You got to rotate over. If someone goes to help, now you got to sink and fill. There's a lot of stuff you got to do. And it just goes against human nature that further you are away from the ball, you got more things to get done. If you're guarding the ball, you have one job. You got to guard the ball. If you're 1 pass away, you got 2 jobs. You got to guard the ball. You got to be in the gap. When you're 3 passes or 2 passes away, you got a lot of things to do. And so you got to fight that. And we didn't, there was possessions defensively today where we executed perfectly. But we just didn't do it enough. And you add the transition baskets off the turnovers, and it just puts you in a tough spot. And I say all that, like I said, with 6 minutes to go, we're a defensive rebound away from having the ball and being able to cut it to 6 or 5. You know what I mean? So that's, it's disappointing. It's disappointing.
Chap's been a bit of a stat stuffer for you lately, but tonight only 3 shot attempts, 2 rebounds. What did Memphis do to neutralize that?
I thought he made a great play at the end with the drive and kick. We got to get that ball reversed to the weak side so he's able to attack the basket. And he had a couple clean looks early. those threes and missed both those. It's a team with the way they press and trap and switch and different things like that. Sometimes it's not really able to get into a lot of set actions against them. You know what I mean? And so you got to be able to dribble, penetrate, and kick, get that ball reversed, and play off the backside. And so we just didn't get enough of that action, especially to Jameer's side.
Obviously, the game up there was just as high scoring as this one tonight. Coming into this one, did you try and take more of a defense first approach? Or, was it one of those things where you said we just kind of have to run with them and score with them?
Oh, I mean, we want to be aggressive, and so we want to attack. You know what I mean? We wanted to attack their pressure. There were some times we did a really good job of that when they were in the full court. Either blast it up in the dribble or throw that ball ahead. But we wanted to run, and I think in the first half, I think we had maybe 5 turnovers, maybe throwing that ball a little too fast, you know what I mean? In transition. But, they're going to score, so you got to score. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like we got to keep this game in the 60s. I figured this game would be in the 80s. You know what I mean? Because we obviously, like I said, we score 81 and we have, 17 turnovers. You know what I mean? But our defensive activity wasn't enough because when we played them the first game, I think we had 20 turnovers, but we forced maybe 19 or 20. You know what I mean? So we weren't as active defensively to force them into turnovers because their 8 turnovers was probably their least amount of turnovers in the last 6 or 7 games because they're a high turnover team. So we weren't active enough defensively. And again, what ends up happening, you can't be active defensively if they're getting breakouts because of our turnovers.
And then, officiating, especially in the second half, they called the game really, really tight, I thought. Sam fouls out with 6 minutes to go. You had a few with 3 and 4 there late in the game. Just, how tough did that make it down the stretch when some of those guys, were playing with fire? Yeah,
it was a physical game, an emotional game, and it was maybe disagree with a call here and there, but for the most part, those 3 guys are high-level guys, and so they're gonna if they see it, they're gonna call it. But yeah, when you get guys in foul trouble, that hurts. We had to really downsize on a couple, probably about a 4-minute stretch there, which we didn't defend as well during that stretch.
Emotions. It was a physical game.
Yeah.
And emotions can sometimes help a player and sometimes get them off course. Did you have a conversation with Tyler leading up to this game about staying in the moment? Yeah,
and I thought for the most part, other than the one, the one in between, other than that, I thought, and again, I'm never a guy that doesn't want guys to play with emotion. You know what I mean? But you have to control those emotions and direct them in a positive, correct way. And for the most part, I thought he did. And when he didn't, I took him out. You know what I mean? And that was my conversation prior to the game. If I sense that you're getting off track a little bit, we're going to take you out for a couple minutes, settle down, sit down with me or sit down with Coach Slay, and then we'll get you back in. But we need you dialed in the entire time. And so I thought he did a pretty good job of that. And it was good to see, Selton play better as well. And that's going to obviously help us as we move forward.
Important 2-game road trip, probably one of the biggest, swings of the season thus far between Cincy and Tulsa. Just what do you guys have to do to, come out?
Yeah.
Come out strong.
Yeah, I think that the thing is we gotta keep being a little more efficient on offense with the turnovers. We got to take care of the ball. All right, we got to trust each other a little bit more. And like I said, if you have 8 turnovers, then you can take 6 to 8 tough shots in a game. But if you have 17, you can't take 6 or 8. You know what I mean? So we got to find a balance there, and we just got to be be a little more disciplined with the basketball. And then obviously we got really overextended and stretched in some of the earlier games, one of them being Cincinnati. So we got to do a better job of guarding the ball and the ball screen stuff. We've won 2 games in a row there. So we have to defend and rebound when you play Cincinnati, because they got multiple guys that can really get it going offensively. You know what I mean? And our defense has to do a good job of them playing on top of us and us making sure they're not playing at a comfort level, because when they play at a comfort level, they're really hard to guard. They're really hard to guard. So, and then Tulsa on the road has been a difficult place to play. You look at their scores in their home games. They played very well against Memphis, beat Tulane there. They're a team trying to find themselves a little bit, but they got some quality players. You know what I mean? So, back-to-back road games, you got to dial it in. But obviously, the most important one is the first one to get prepared for Saturday night.